Hello and welcome to another video by Johnny IELTS. So in this video, I'm one of my students. We are working on Cam 19 writing, and this is like test one. Cam 19 test one. This is run test one. This is run test two. Okay. So let's work first on writing test one. I'll speak mostly in English because you guys probably have seen me speaking both languages a lot. But now I'm gonna speak like totally in English. Now, the graph below gives information on the number of participants for different activities at one social center in Melbourne, Australia for the period of 2000, for the period 2000 to 2020. You know, social center?
No.
It's like community center where people just go and meet up,
So like a
at a
community center,
community
all right.
center where there's often like events, like music being played, or something like that.
Yeah, I know that.
Mm. So the number of participants here, different activities is by the activities here. You can see like there are film clubs. This one is film clubs. And this one, it's martial arts. Martial arts like taekwondo, karate, something like that. These kind of martial arts.
Yeah.
The third line here is amateur dramatics. Amateur dramatics means like they enact plays, or basically they act in a drama, but of course they are not professional, they're just amateur dramatics.
All
The
right.
square thing here is table tennis. Is table tennis ping pong? It's the same thing.
Uh, yeah, they're basically the same thing.
Let me check. Yeah, it is the same thing. So the last line with an X here, it's a musical performances. So it could be singing, it could be playing a musical instrument, guitar, piano, violin, drums, whatever it is. So you can see clearly here, this is number of participant, this is the year that uh, they did the um, they did the research on, right? So everything here happened in the past, isn't it? So it
Yeah.
means you can use simple past tense, no problem. Of course, you can use other past tense like past perfect or past continuous or simple past, but that would complicate things. Normally, just use past tense, okay?
All
So,
right.
Alex, are you aware of past continuous and past perfect tenses?
I have a rough idea.
You did, right? Okay, great. So for any kind of essays here, first we need to analyze the data. Okay, so Alex, can you tell me when you look at these data, what's the thing that strike you the most? What can you see immediately? The trend, something like that.
Uh, there was a rise in table tennis participants.
Mm-hmm.
There was a decline in amateur dramatics.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
Film club is roughly stable
Mm-hmm. So it
with
doesn't
a slight
change, right?
drop. Um, musical performances only took up in the 2000 around the 2005 to 2020.
So there wasn't any musical performance like before 2005, isn't it?
Yeah.
Correct. Okay. It's also worth mentioning the point when they cross, like crossover
Oh,
point.
all right.
Like here, for example, year 2010, there's a crossover point between these two. But remember, when we do test one, we need to do an opening first, and then the second paragraph is going to be overall. Like, what can you see? Like the overall trends And then we're gonna go into either one or two paragraph of the body, like to go deep into like analyzing it, analyzing data. Task one does not require you to write an conclusion, okay? But
All
you
right.
need an overall. So let's first start with like an opening. So the opening, basically, you just rephrase the essay title, but you have to keep every components of that, okay?
All right. All right.
Okay, let me just quickly here. Okay, I just opened another one, and then I'll do it like this. Old school, but it works. If it works, it works.
All
Now,
right.
so first, there's several ways to rephrase the essay title. So you can just basically use different wording to rephrase it, or you can use passive voice to do it. Like the graph below is information on number of something. I can just say the data of participants for several for various, let's just say for various activities at one social center is basically the same as community center sometimes. In the city of Melbourne in Australia. But then this is basically, it lacks a verb. So you can just say it's given.
All right.
But then there's a part about a period of the study. So I need to write it in a second sentence. Let's just say that the study period, it's from 2000 to 2020. Okay, there are several ways to rephrase this one. You can even change the words here, you know?
All right.
Okay, but the overall part, it's absolutely necessary. So the general thing here is that if you look at the data and it's easy to see the trend, you can write the overall part immediately after the opening part, okay? But if the data is difficult to interpret, if it requires you to undergo like, you know, several paragraphs of the body to so that you can see the trend, right? Then you can write it overall at the very end of your essay. That's the whole thing. But here you can see it easily, right?
Yeah.
So if you just say overall, what would you write here? Overall, it appears that
It appears uh,
you said amateur dramatic is the only one that drops, isn't it?
that drops. Yeah.
Yeah.
Overall, it appears that amateur dramatics is one of the few activities that has a drop in participation between the 2000s and 2020.
Let's just say that it appeared that amateur dramatics is the only one, experiencing a um a drop. It's the only one experiencing a drop in general. No, because we're saying overall already, it means general. Let's just
All
say
right.
it's the only one because now it's in the past. So it's actually prudent to use past tense a lot in this essay, okay? Was the only one experiencing a drop. And what else can you say?
There was also a major increase of participation in table tennis sports.
Mm. There was also a significant increase, right?
Yeah.
A significant increase in table tennis. Is that the only one?
Uh,
Show a significant increase.
with uh, with musical performances having increase in participation. And there was also an increase in music performances.
So we have to include musical performances as well. So there was also significant increases, plural, in table tennis and musical performances. Is that right?
Yeah.
Or, but I would say if I were you, I would just link the two sentences together. Because why? One is showing a decrease, one is like an increase, right? But somehow they're related, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can link them together with the word while. So this one experiencing a drop while the other experience an increase, for example. So linking between the sentences are super important, you know. It links the idea together. So all of these words that link idea together in some way, these linking devices, these linking words are super uber important. Is there anything else you would like to mention in the overall part? Like
No.
in clubs and table tennis showed it doesn't change at all, is it?
Bowling clubs doesn't have much of a change. There's like only a slight increase. Martial arts have a slight bump in 2010, but that's a fairly insignificant bump.
Hmm. Let's just say also, I'm gonna say also a general so basically also film club and martial arts, right?
Yeah. Had fairly stable participation.
Witness, they witness something, witness a relatively stable participations. Very good. They witness a relatively stable participation throughout the period of study. But that is not something necessary to say throughout a period of study. Because why? In the opening, we already mentioned the study period is from this one to this one already.
All
And
right.
remember, when you write something, try not to be wordy, lengthy, wordy, whatever.
All right.
Okay, let's go into details now. Let's split into like several sections. Which one would you like to mention first? To start with, yes. Which one would you like to mention first?
Uh, the major increase in table tennis participation.
Well, we can either talk about like if they increase from this time to that time and then decrease from that time or that time, you know. It's like we can show a trend that changes through time in one category. Or we can compare the starting numbers. Like this one start at 65 something. This one started around 34, no, 36 something. This one about 16 something. While like musical performances wasn't even existent in the year 2000. There are several ways to write this.
All right.
However, remember that this is a 20-year period. You need to show changes through time. So you cannot just mention like I would not suggest that you should I suggest you should not like just mention like year 2000 this one will start with what. And then you mention another year like 2010, and they were this, you know. You have to
Right.
show that they were changing, how they were changing, up and down, how, you know. Because look at the essay title. What do you ask they? What do you ask you? You have to summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features only. And you have to make comparison where relevant. So only relevant things. And you have to compare them. But you also
Right.
need to like mention like the changes through time. Okay, which one would you like to start with?
All right, let's start out with uh, sorry, table tennis,
Mm,
where we saw a significant increase in participation between 2010 and 2020.
but how about 2000 to 2010?
I feel like it's a fairly insignificant. Like, well, if you're reporting all
It
features,
does
then yeah, you
increase.
could
It does
also take.
increase, but gradually, right? It's increased slowly. But that is something worth mentioning also, you know?
All right.
Let's just say to start with, um, table tennis. I can use the verb form or noun form of the same word. So table tennis increase slowly in the first decade. Decade means 10 years. Increase slowly in the first decade. Just to just to skyrocket. You know, skyrocket means like it increased very
Yeah.
quickly, isn't it?
Yeah. Significantly. Yeah.
Just to skyrocket. Um, in the second, in the second one, because we mentioned decade before. One here mean decade. Just to skyrocket in the second one, and then I think it's worth to mention some numbers here at the end. So just to skyrocket in the second one to 50 to 50 people. Okay, what else? I think you should mention like amateur dramatics, which is going down here. But first, it does increase a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But then you should also mention the point with the crossover here. Now, why do I pick amateur dramatics? Because it does have a crossover point, and it also show a very similar increase at first, isn't it? So it just like the way I do. I would choose something that looks similar first and then work on it. But you can choose the one that is absolutely different to do it. It's up to you.
All right.
Okay. I can say similarly. Oh no, they're just only similar in the first 5 years. So let's say a similar slow increase. So this increase is noun, okay? A similar slow increase um, was observed
All right.
for amateur dramatics in the first 5 years. In the first 5 years. However, however, it's basically it goes down like a lot. This one you can see from about 28. It dropped all the way to let's say 7 or 6, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's like it dropped 4 times, and that's a dramatic. It's a very dramatic drop.
All
Or you
right.
can use the word plunge. You know, plunge? Plunge is like you jump to the
Yeah.
water. You just However, it plunged dramatically in the following 15 years. It plunged dramatically in the following 15 years. Maybe it's prudent to just write words, you know. It's
Yeah.
actually they want you to write in words more in IELTS. And remember, the British system, IELTS, the British, and they are really strict with grammar rules and things like that too.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's fine for you, right? Hmm. It plunged
Yeah.
dramatically in the following 15 years. I think you're quite good with those grammar rules, I think. It plunged dramatically in the following 15 years. I think it's important to mention the fact that it's however it plunged dramatically in order to contrast with this one, right? To contrast with the part with skyrocket here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Contrasting is actually important too. I think it's worth to mention the crossover point there. It is worth noting, but I think maybe crossover point. It is worth noting that um, those two these two category shared a similar number of participants in 2010. You don't even have to mention like how many
All right.
share a similar number of participants in 2010. So it means that a crossover at that point. Okay, let's go to the second paragraph of the body. What would you write? So maybe going to musical performances, no?
Um, hmm. Though they had no participation during the early 2000s, from 2005 and
I,
onward, there
mm.
was a fairly gradual increase in participation
So
in
the year
musical
2000
performances.
show no musical performances.
Though the year 2000 showed low participation, between 2005 and 2020, there was major and gradual increase in
Mhm.
musical performances.
Yeah, I agree. The year 2000 showed
Yeah.
no participation in musical performances. Um,
So,
this is only apparent from 2005 onwards when when the value climbs climbs steeply. You know, it gets steep climb, right? So that when the
yeah,
value climbs steeply, um, to roughly, I think maybe it's worth it to mention some numbers here. It's 15, right? To
yeah.
15 people. Or maybe if I use the word this to refer back to something else, people can be confused. Like, okay, the year 2000 show no participation in musical performances. This is only apparent. What is this? Is it no participation? Or do I refer to participation only? You see, so sometimes when you refer back to something, it can be misleading, you know? So maybe it's better to just link the two together and use which. Show no participation in musical performances, comma, which is only apparent from 2005 onwards. Is it clearer now?
Yeah.
Hmm. When a value climbs steeply to 15 people. Okay. What else would you write, Alex?
Uh,
We didn't mention film clubs. We didn't mention martial art yet.
I wouldn't. I would have had them in a separate paragraph, but I assume you can't in this case. So
It's like going up and down, up and down, up and down. Like it's like fluctuate, isn't it?
it's fluctuating but stable in the mid 30s. That's the thing. Mid to
I
high
agree.
30s.
I agree. It's maybe it shows a slight fluctuation. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a slight fluctuation.
These two actually are quite insignificant to if you go into details, right? So maybe just say like, okay, they both experience like a slight fluctuation. Maybe it's good to mention like the minimum or like maximum that they fluctuate, maybe. I think there's also a second and a third crossover point here. You see, the first crossover point is one. The second and the third is this one.
All right.
Okay, but maybe it's now we should go to film clubs and martial arts. Moreover, one can witness. One here mean people, isn't it? But it sounds much more formal if we say moreover, one can witness instead of like moreover, people can witness, right? It's more formal if you do this.
Yeah.
Moreover, one can witness a slight, what word I use? Fluctuation of both film club oh, and martial arts in the study period. Maybe it's good to mention again the study period in the whole study period. When the for when the former, you know the former and the latter, right? When you mention something first, this is the former. When you mention something later afterwards, it's the latter, isn't it? In the same sentence. Do you know this one, Alex?
Yeah.
Okay, great. When the former, um, when the farmer stabilize, when the former was stable, but ranging, but when the former was stable at roughly, this is like 60 to 65, right? At roughly 60 to 65 people.
Yeah.
While the latter, while the latter, you cannot take, we're gonna say take up because phrasal verbs are informal. When the latter occupied, when the latter occupied, the this one is about 32 to say 38. 32 to 38 section. What a ladder occupied the 32 to 38 section of, or because if you divide this number of participants into several sections like this, each of them occupied one section, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, anything else you would like to mention? Because this one, how many words is one? If I choose the whole thing, Control Shift C, it's gonna show 188 words. And test one is write at least 150 words. Always remember that you need to write more than 150 words, okay? But
All right.
try not to write too much, because if you write too much, wordy, lengthy, you might repeat ideas, things like that.
All right.
Okay, would we include anything else? Should we do that?
Um, so we mentioned film and martial arts stability.
But
We've
I said that these two categories share similar number of participants in this one. Maybe I should mention the two other crossing over point, isn't it? Two over crossover point here, maybe.
yeah.
Maybe last but not least. Last but not least, the year 2014. The year 2014 showed a similar participation number for martial arts and table tennis, and then these two, right?
Yeah.
But mentioning the name of these categories again, it's like, ugh, you know, show a similar participation number for martial art, for martial arts, table tennis, as well as if we use as well as, it's actually mean the same as and, but it varies the structure, it varies the word you use, as well as musical performances and amateur dramatics. Okay. All right. So this is like the general thing for task one. Is it easy or no?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
quite easy, yeah. I believe you can do it yourself, no? Okay, so I'm just gonna write your name here, Alex. Okay, maybe you should do your essay like at home, and now I can go to test two, I think. All right, let's go to test two.